Welcome to the Brewtiful Game. As always, I am Blake here with Ferris.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Ferris.
Gross.
Hola.
Oh, jeez.
Gross.
And we've got Ron.
Oh, man. What's happening?
Well, way to just take the air right out of the opening of the show.
Oh,
You're welcome.
Oh, man.
Just carrying on from last episode.
Did you know that I was...
the new episode they put on wasn't even that good.
But I did like how they like FaceTimed everybody and got everybody's like real opinion on like, okay, all of them agreed Joe should be in jail.
Okay. Oh, I haven't seen it yet, so I'll have to sit
you
and
haven't
watch
seen
it.
it yet?
No.
Okay.
It's okay. You're not spoiling anything. I know it's like a very different thing than the rest of the show. Yeah.
It's kind of like a sit and deliver kind of, and like Joel McHale is kind of interviewing people, and it's very softball. There's no hard-hitting questions. Based on the
way those people were in the show. Again, our soccer podcast taken over by the Tiger King, 2 shows in a row. I'm going to guess those people would not have been on the show unless they were kind of told this was just going to be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a very like, where are they now? And what are your thoughts after seeing the show and how it came together? Because obviously they were a part of it. They don't know how it all came together until this past few
just like we said,
months where it became a national craze.
The guys making the documentary, when they started it, didn't know it was going to be this.
Yeah.
Ron, by the way, is coming to us again from the outback in Australia. That's why you've got the crickets there in the background. I don't know why I said Australia for crickets. That doesn't.
I was going to say Australia's in the daytime right now. No crickets
again.
there.
I love that it's we got Ron back in country, but we're all doing this remotely. See, we're social distance safely for the Brewtiful Game.
We're Brewtiful distancing.
Yeah, but our new little setup is not too bad. I miss having you guys here. We were talking little shop earlier. We got a brand new smoker coming to the Brutal Studio tomorrow. Ron and I are going to pick up.
Braswell.
That's right. So the next time we can actually do this all together, we can smoke some ribs and drink some beers.
That's awesome.
Works for me.
So today, because we were talking this prior, since things are a little different with. There's only so much soccer news. So we'll kick off with the beers we've got. We'll go into some soccer news, and we're going to wrap up with beer news around the world or country. I'm not sure. I didn't read the beer news yet. Ron had put completely up.
It's jam-packed with goodies.
So who wants to start with their beers? Oh, the pod. Beer reviews for the pod.
I'll start. I'm going to stick local again. Surprise, surprise. It is from the Florida Beer Company, and I am drinking a Hurricane Reef IPA. Here's the can. I'll get that on social media at some point, but kind of a cool one of the old school seaplanes, big, bi-propeller seaplanes getting ready to land onto a beach and water with palms that are being blown because of a hurricane. But their site is floridabeer.com. It's a 6.5% alcohol by volume, and it's 70 on the IBU meter. Their little tidbit on it when you go into their site is uniquely adapted for travel in any environment. The versatile, ambitious plane, the Goose, is a symbol for the air, sea travel, and exploration. Brewed for the uncharted territory ahead, Hurricane Reef continues the spirit of adventure with the Goose discovering uniquely crafted beer styles throughout the tropics and the Caribbean. American-style IPA with a citrus aroma, crispy, resiny bitterness balanced by a medium malt character. And as I'm sitting outside on my patio, a car jamming out just pulled back.
I think you're doing okay. I could barely hear that. It's all the see. Look, everybody listening, they're probably used to it between Zoom meetings with work where kids are busting indoors or dogs or whatever. Yeah, it's where everybody's used to it, man. Everybody's used to it.
But that's my Hurricane Reef.
Ooh, that sounds. What's in those IPA?
Correct.
Boom. All right. You may go here next, Ron.
Sure, go for it.
All right. I am going to do. Someone actually came by. My birthday was a couple weeks ago and dropped off a 6-pack of variety of beer, and they got me a Guinness I had yet to have. And it is I've had the Guinness blonde lagers they've done before. They're American blonde lager, but this is a Baltimore blonde, and the logo's cool. It says it's called made at Open Gate Brewery in Baltimore. And so a little background is the story of the Guinness Blonde. If you go to the Guinness website, it'll tell you the Irish tradition meets American spirit in Guinness Blonde. Complex and flavorful, light floral and alive with citrus, this beer is perfectly balanced with a lingering malt biscuity finish. It's the coming together of the vibrant flavors of character drawn from both sides of the pond, and it's come a long way to get here. Now that is their staple for like the normal blonde, but this particular Baltimore blonde, brewed in Baltimore, it says when we opened our new brewery in Baltimore in August of 2018, which I was not aware of. Our goal was to combine 260 years of Guinness brewing experience with American beer creativity. The first item on their list was to reinterpret our flagship American beer, Guinness Blonde. The goal was a sessionable golden beer with a Guinness character, focusing on making it more refreshing in taste, lighter in color. They supplemented the mosaic hops with Citra for tasty citrus notes and adjusted the grain bill. The result is a clean, crisp beer that hits the sweet spot between flavor and refreshing taste. So this actually does not taste like the Guinness Blonde. This is going to be specific to the Baltimore Blonde, and it's just cool with like the Maryland flag in the background and the logo and everything, big and blazing, brewed in Baltimore, which is crazy if you think about it, because it was for the longest time with Guinness. They wanted to make sure that you knew, this like the Guinness draft that's always made in Ireland, right? Like brewed at St. James Gate Brewery in Ireland. It's cool. This one's like embracing where it's from, and it's like, nope, this is an American craft beer.
That's awesome, dude.
Yep, citrusy with a refreshing finish. Boom. So there you go. First stateside Guinness brewery since the mid 1950s.
Oh, that's
the one
a cool
in Baltimore. Stat. Yeah, cool. That's on the bottle. Awesome. I like that it's called Open Gate Brewery instead of James Gate.
That's fun. Well, cool. I can't wait to have one of those. I've never had them.
Never.
So I ran out of any local beer, so I had something kicking around in the fridge that I haven't had yet, from one of my favorite breweries, New Belgium. The whole Voodoo series is quite high on my list for IPAs, and the Voodoo Rangers. So this one I haven't had before. It's the Liquid Paradise IPA.
Oh, I've not had that one either. I haven't had any of these beers that we've all got. That's great.
The can art on this series of beers is just awesome. And this one, using Mosaic Incognito, Azacca, and Cascade hops, Liquid Paradise boasts a melange of tropical notes to create a delicately bitter and extremely aromatic IPA.
That is fancy beer language.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's only because of the word melange. Which sounds like a great name for for someone on the RuPaul show. I'm melange. So this is a pale golden color with light haze and a moderate dense white foam. Moderately strong notes of guava, mango, and grapefruit are followed by more subtle white grape, herb grass, and stone fruit.
Ooh.
I can't wait to try it. Yeah. It's 7.8 on the old ABV, and the hops are Nugget, Mosaic Incognito, Azacca, and Cascade. So I can't wait.
So you both guys have slightly hoppier beers than I think I'm going to have.
Can't wait.
So shall we?
Oh, look at that.
We shall.
All right, going to use the James Bond bottle opener.
Yes.
Oh, he got
it. Took twice.
Second time.
Took twice. All right. Man, this Guinness Blonde is beautiful.
I'm doing mine out of the can.
I wanted to get a look at this guy, since you equate Guinness with
obviously
it's dark beer, and I kind of wanted to. Man, I mean that thing is. I don't know how well you guys can tell on the old FaceTime camera there, but ooh, that thing is clean.
It looks pretty caramel.
Yeah, it's super caramel, man. All right,
this one's mine. Hard to see, but a bit of a hazy IPA. Good head retention.
We know we like that.
I mean, who doesn't?
Ayo.
All right, gentlemen, shall we try these?
Yeah.
Say cheese, cheese, guys. I got you on the photo with the beer.
Woohoo!
Oh yeah, there you go. Cheers. All right. Oh, now we got a car alarm. I love it. We got like Ferris. You can't move soon enough, apparently.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Almighty. All right. Here we go.
Oh man.
This is quite good.
I mean, as advertised, this is super crisp, real light flavor, but not in a bad way. I mean, like it's got plenty of flavor. I just mean it's a crisp and light beer. I mean, this is a. If we were tailgating in a soccer game, guys, this would be great.
Yeah, this New Belgium, they're right. It is the flavor cornucopia of citrus fruit, and man, is it tasty!
It's the hop that keeps on giving the whole year, Clark.
This, guys, is just a very tasty American-style IPA, like they say, and very subdued citrus aroma, but crisp, resiny bitterness is really balanced with that medium malt character. So they described it to a T, and it tastes fantastic.
That sounds awesome.
I think we did pretty good with our beer picks. Not that we tend to do bad.
Oh, just wait till you see my actual picture.
It's not like it's the beer that Ferris gave us last or 2 weeks ago with the,
What was that?
That Carib red.
I gave you that.
No,
Ron.
Don't
God,
you throw my
right.
name under the bus like
it's
that.
Because,
Hold on.
It's because you actually drank it. God, that
So
thing
did
was,
you.
No, I drank like half of it. I couldn't.
I've had the actual Carib before.
I've had
like
regular
their
Carib
normal
beer.
one. Yeah,
It's not.
And
I mean,
funny enough, that's made by the Florida Beer Company, which is the beer that I have right now.
well,
Same company.
It's that one that Ron gave us was it was only 1% alcohol, and it was like
neon red.
Yeah, it was like a cherry. I don't know. It was terrible. It was
You're
terrible.
welcome.
Speaking of terrible, I mean, Ferris, we still got a bet going on potentially.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't
with a not a Moo Thunder, but a Cookie Puss on the line.
Yeah, and we could be hearing something status of the league quite soon, actually. From the Premier League news, switching over to a little soccer news. As of today, here's kind of where we're at with the coronavirus shutdown of the English sporting world. English being over in the United Kingdom. According to Mr. Gab Marcotti, he writes for a lot of very big public occasions on the ESPN podcast. He writes for ESPN. He's on the Guardian. He does a whole bunch of different stuff. But according to him, the UK government met on Thursday to discuss easing back from the lockdown that they have on the UK. Now, as of today, we are at Friday, May 8th. Indications are, from what he's saying, that the Premier League doctors and medics have held talks. Now, all of that will then turn into an expected announcement from Prime Minister Boris Johnson to announce new measures on Sunday, with the key Premier League stakeholders expected to reconvene on Monday. So, potentially as of Monday or Tuesday, we could be hearing what the status of the major leagues in England are. Hopefully they're positive, but we're kind of at the hands of those that hold those decisions at the moment.
Right.
Well, did you, if football returns, which actually, no, we're slated to we'll get to this later, but Bundesliga may be firing back up soon. But did you see that we are going to have some rule changes? Have you guys seen that broke today?
Oh,
yeah. I didn't get a chance to read it all the way through.
Yeah.
Basically, the big ones are the FIFA's proposed, and I think the IBFA is that right? The for the Football Association in Britain. Anyway,
the FA?
They have but it's if you go to it's IBFA, it's something in their Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, FIFA, they are allowing up to 5 substitutions per match to protect players' health, which makes sense because a lot of people are not going to be as fit where they were.
Right.
And interestingly enough, I think it goes all the way through any games played in 2020. So if they have a shortened break and have to launch the next season, this rule still sticks for a bit, if I'm understanding that correctly. The other change is that if leagues would like to drop VAR at this point in the season, they are allowed to. I don't know why that was also put in there, but maybe it's about how they do VAR. Does it mean that a lot of people have to be in a room together? I don't know, but there's an option to drop VAR.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder if
option to drop it. Huh.
Yeah, but yeah, for the leagues, it sounds
if
like
that's essentially the end of VAR.
You bring up a good point. Like you quietly use this to step away from it. I think it all depends on how much money they've invested into it. Now, you could kind of split hairs though, right? You could say, if Blake were in charge and it was the Premier League, it was Premier League VAR, I would say everybody still go in the booth, keep doing what you do, looking at plays, but we're not going to talk to the public. Like you're not. You make calls based on what you see, and we'll evaluate them separately. But they mean nothing. Like the fans won't hear about it. You know, they won't be making a call that actually changed anything, and just continue to work on accuracy and how it works through the rest of the games, so that when you launch into your next season, you're better at doing it. I feel like they've put enough money into it. I can't imagine it goes away totally. You know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this would be a good time to go back for all the leagues, when the MLS comes back, when anybody comes back, and you put, like you're saying, put VAR on ice, but keep rehearsing it.
Yeah,
and
there
keep
you go.
Making it flawless.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. Rehearsing. Yeah, that's exactly it. Just keep doing it. Keep working on it, but you don't, examine how you're doing with it. Try to get better at it. But
it's interesting though. I wonder if any of the Premier League clubs, ownership, players, so on and so forth, will have an issue with. Okay, say they decide to go that route. Say they decide to. Okay, we're not going to use VAR in games. We're going to rehearse it though. We're still going to go through at least on the side that we don't see in the TV, or it's not going to affect games. We're still going to go through the process of doing that, but to rehearse it to get it better prepared for the next season. Will any of those clubs, players, teams, or whatnot, will they have issues that halfway through the year, it's now stopping when so many big goals and so many big decisions have changed the tides of games?
I would say based
you want to see out
on
the year that way?
Some of the calls and slowing down the game, I think a lot of the players would be just fine with dropping it for the season.
Yeah, I do too. I think a lot of them will be fine, but I wonder if there won't be a few that kind of speak out and
just
go,
like
well, why didn't we do this the first month that it wasn't? Because our game in October could have been different. We could have 3 points additional if this decision was made back then.
Well, I mean, also could be based on they're making the decision because literally, I don't know how they operate it, but maybe it is a place that is hard for them to do a social distancing or whatever within the studio, or I don't know how it operates, but they maybe could say.
Sure. But I think everybody is more than I'll say forgiving. That if you are, everybody understands the coronavirus issues. So I think everybody's just going to go make the calls and move on because they want to get the season over with.
Yeah. Ferris, I think you just grabbed your microphone.
Yeah, I'm back.
That's your microphone you got in your hand.
Yeah. So every time you do that, it makes...
Oh, you were trying to adjust the volume?
Just the volume, I just hit the wrong
Yeah, all of a sudden Ferris just disappeared. Hey, we're all still working through this, guys.
Yeah.
On that note, I mean, like that's why I agree with Ron. I think people are more forgiving right now. They'll be so happy to, even if it sucks and you just can only watch the game on TV. I think they're going to be so happy to have anything that, no one wants the season to end. No one wants it to be played out like this either. But I think ending it is worse.
Well, Blake, that is a good segue.
Oh,
well, wait. Before we move on. And I apologize. I know it was a good segue, but before we move on to stay in the Premier League, because our bet that you and I have was that the season would end, and I said Arsenal could leap Man United.
Correct.
I went a little gutsy. Now, here's the thing. First and second place, I would be shocked if they change, really. I don't even think it's half mathematical at this point almost for Liverpool to not be first. But coming back like this, considering how close teams 3 through 7 are, 6, whatever, coming out of this, could it be an insanity where all bets are off and there is no way of telling how that, the teams trying to get to Europe, who's going to end up going? Because anything could happen. You could have this break, a team that was, doing fine, could totally, that looks like they were going to come in 3rd or 4th. They could just have lost their chemistry, and all of a sudden someone leaps up. Sheffield gets higher, guaranteed, whatever. But I mean, I feel like this could be a real all bets are off sort of situation with coming back, considering how tight 3rd through 7th was.
3rd through really 9th.
Right. Yeah. 10. See, there's a lot of
10 or 11. And I only say that because in 11th place currently is Crystal Palace at 39 points. 10th is Burnley at 39. 9th is Arsenal at 40. 8th is Tottenham at 41. Sheffield United and 7th at 43. The Wolverhampton Wanderers in 6th at 43. So everybody's just close to the places above and below them. Right.
So, I mean, it really could be who the heck knows once they come back. Because, if it was looking like it was trajectorying, if it was going in one way, at this point, with this strategery, with this gap, I could just see it being like, holy crap, we never expected Sheffield United to end 3rd. They did. Whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just something insane.
Also, the reason, all bets are off is because everybody's had a 3-month break.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right. So does the chemistry of the team change?
The fitness is going to be off.
Right. Fitness is going to be different, and people are going to be rusty. It takes you a while to get that first touch back in your foot. So,
and at this point, as much as the season is done, is it smarter to be we're going to pull a Chelsea of days of old? We're just going to park a bus, try to get 1 point. Or do you say, screw it, it's like Liverpool 3 years ago. We just need to have four strikers and everybody just go.
Attack.
This is, God, your tactics when you come back in those first 2 matches are going to be, none of the tape will matter.
Assuming they come back.
Yeah, well, assuming they do, but I'm just saying, it's just really,
and also the fact that you have 5 substitutions, really, really changes, because that's changing just less than half your team.
So now, I mean, this situation sucks. I don't mean to paint it like it's a good thing, but I will say, if we can get some Premier League fired back up, whether it's a neutral site or however they do it, man, I'll make the most of it, and it'll be one hell of an interesting ride,
Yeah, and these games are going to be fast and furious. There's going to be
Vin
so
Diesel.
much soccer going on.
Because these games are about family and Corona. Oh my God, I wasn't making a coronavirus joke. I was making a Corona joke, because in Fast and Furious, they do all those Corona sponsorships the whole time. Oh my God. I can't believe that. Oh man,
I can't believe you just threw a Fast and Furious
well, he
reference
said
out
it
on
was
this
Fast
pod.
and Furious, and I was trying to make a joke about it, and then it's like a terrible product placement where Kurt Russell's like, here's a bucket of Coronas. It's so bad. Those movies are so terrible. They're awesome. All right. Anywho, speaking of seasons canceling, as you were saying,
yeah,
Paris.
exactly. All right, so moving over to the La Liga's roundup, which we usually cover the Bundesliga, La Liga, Liga, and the Serie A. Well, on the last pod, had a little bit of news of the Eredivisie, and about the Eredivisie being one of the first to come back. Well, actually, the top 2 Dutch leagues were abandoned on April 24th. This comes from a decision that major events are banned until September because of the coronavirus outbreak in the Netherlands.
Right.
Surprisingly, though, the Dutch FA said there will be no promotion or relegation and no champions.
That sucks, man.
Yeah. So remember, though,
it's essentially just a void of the season.
Right.
Essentially.
And for clubs that were fighting to get promoted, it's really the worst for them, because that money just disappears.
Now, here's where it's kind of interesting. Ajax were leading the table by only goal difference at the time, with 9 games left over AZ Alkmaar. Now, Ajax is the proverbial the best team in that league and have been for years and years and years. However, to only be leading the table on goal difference with 9 games left, who the hell knows what could have happened? You know?
Right.
Now, both teams will go into the Champions League qualifying stages pending ratification by UEFA. However, Ajax could progress straight to the group stages, depending on the outcome of this year's competition and other domestic leagues. So, for those of you that don't know, the UEFA Champions League and Europa League is the biggest soccer tournament in the world, thereabouts, besides the World Cup. It is Europe's top competition for club teams. And prior to the group stages, which is what we all see on TV and on that can be broadcast over here. Thank you.
Was that your dog?
It was a motorcycle.
Oh, I thought your dog, because it was just in the screen, farted or something really loud. I was impressed, to be honest. I was like, oh, crap.
The group stages are what everybody really watches. However, there are teams that have to qualify for the group stages. Now, the Netherlands, and because they're not really one of the premier top 5 European clubs, they are only given a certain amount of teams that can participate. Depending on what the outcomes of the other leagues are, they usually allow for the Netherlands, the top team, to go straight into the group stages, with a second place team having to play a couple of play-in games to qualify for the group stages. So that's where, depending on what UEFA says, and depending on how these other leagues play out, whether they're abandoned, whether they actually play the seasons or whatnot, it could see Ajax go in straight to the group stages and AZ Alkmaar go in and have to play-in games for that. Now, I know it's crazy. They were the first ones that kind of announced this, which is they were the first league to come out and said that they were banned. Not quite as big as news as the next, but still big news. This is the first time in the Eredivisie's 64-year history where there will be no designated champions.
That's just wild. And really, it's heartbreaking for the clubs for promotion, because that's just money that. I mean, it sucks in general, but that's awful.
And the bottom teams are going, oh, thank God.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Other cancellations. Moving over to Ligue 1 in France. On April 28th, the French Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, announced that no sporting events will take place until at least September. Shortly after that announcement, the French Federation President, Noël Legrand, confirmed the end of the season shortly afterwards. Now, 2 days following that announcement, Paris Saint-Germain has officially been named Ligue 1 champs.
Well, they were miles ahead.
They were 12 points ahead, clear of second place, Marseille. Both those clubs will qualify automatically for next season's Champions League, while the third place team, Rennes, will enter the competition in the third qualifying round. So that kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the having to qualify for the group stages. There are multiple qualifying rounds for the group stages, so they will enter the third round, which I believe there is no fourth, or there might be a fourth, and then they go into the group. So the decision was made following a meeting of the Ligue de Football Professionnel in Paris, in which the final standings would be determined by points per game. So some pretty big news there of not only was their season canceled and abandoned, but they actually did name a champion.
That's more what, if it has to happen, what UEFA wants.
Yes.
I think it makes it easier all around.
Yeah.
The problem is that it puts all the pressure on the individual leagues to figure out who that's going to be.
Right. And in the first case, like you said, with them only ahead by Ajax by a goal differential, that's a hard one to make the call on.
Right. I think that's fair to kind of void the season, because you can't name a champion when it's that close, where in this case it's a little bit different, right? It's more of like what the Premier League could possibly do, because Paris Saint-Germain are 12 points above.
One option still on the table that's discussed too for Premier League, depending, is it could become a playoff.
Playoffs?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be wild?
And obviously the French Football Association decided not to do that. And I think that, in all fairness, PSG were going to win this thing regardless, right? Every week when we did the Ligas Roundup, they were always ahead, scoring 70 million goals, Neymar rolling around on the ground, and, that was just every single week. So to make this announcement, I think is probably a right decision in the same respect for what the Eredivisie did. And Blake, to your point of it being so close, I think they made the right decision there too. That just causes a little bit more headache for UEFA when it comes to Champions.
Right.
It's all right.
In the end, there's not going to be one easy answer for all the leagues. Right.
No.
They're all going to have to find their own way. This is unprecedented. So everybody's got to create a solution that will work for their league. And then UEFA is going to have to sort it out.
Correct. Now, the most exciting news
Our
of this
pod
past week
is becoming, Ich bin ein Berliner soon.
the Brewtiful Bundesliga podcast coming your way. On Wednesday, May 6th, Germany's government gave the green light for the Bundesliga to return and left the decision of a return date up to the DFL, which is the German Football Association. DFL announced that 36 clubs of the upper two tiers agreed that their first match will be played on Saturday, May 16th, with hopes of completing the season by June 30th.
Much as some friends have said online, I'm going to watch the crap out of this Bundesliga when it kicks off in another week.
And I am happy because as you guys can see me here now, you can see one of the cats on my lap. But you can see that I am wearing one of my favorite kits, a Borussia Dortmund kit, because I've been following them for years. And they are like my second club. That I've been watching that league. It's such a fun league, and part of which why we decided to do this kind of Europe roundup of the other leagues that aren't just comprised of English, football, which is so huge, but there are great other leagues out there. The Bundesliga, in my opinion, is that second best league because of the matches that you have.
Dare I say that in a way, Bundesliga would be what American soccer should aspire to, in that it's a very much it's a higher scoring European soccer. It's fast paced. If America in its history in soccer could ever aim for something, I feel like that kind of vibe.
Yeah, and we want that fan support, right? If you've ever seen the wall at Dortmund, it is. I would love to go to that, just to be a part of that. But all the fans, from top to bottom, are so passionate about the clubs in their little towns or villages, and it's really fun to watch on TV. Unfortunately, though, as we talk about all of that, all of the games will be played behind closed doors amid the ban on mass gatherings in Germany until August 31st. Smart decision there, but does kind of suck because I would have liked to see people around the world, as this being the only sporting event really going on, seeing how passionate those fans are at these games. That would have been cool. But nonetheless, this is a really...
Their ratings are going to go bonkers. I mean, this gives Fox an opportunity to gain new eyeballs that have never watched it before. And probably chances for people that have never watched soccer before who are just like, oh my God. I know people that have been putting in their DVDs. Like a friend of mine from North Carolina is like, I'm glad I bought this DVD of when the Hurricanes won the NHL. I'm literally watching that right now.
So many teams have been putting up what they're like classic games.
Yeah.
And you can watch them for free on their YouTube channels and things like that. I'm not going to lie. I did that for, 6 or 8 games just to have the feeling that there were sports going on in the background.
Yup.
Yeah.
And you discovered from the Classic Game Show from Orlando, we have a lot of exciting draws.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, one good come from behind win over, I almost said the Patriots, New England Revolution.
Yeah. Oh, at home last year, wasn't it? Or?
Yeah, and then the absolute shellacking of LA Galaxy 4-1.
Right.
Yeah.
In the
we could just keep playing those over and over.
The pre-Zlatan years.
Pre-Zlatan years. So, some very exciting news, and hopefully they can do it safely and actually really kind of put their foot in the water first, which sends the ripples amongst the football pond.
Can be organized enough to pull this off.
Suit.
It's the Germans. Anzwei. Very, like
True.
they will organize the crap out of this, and it will be just If I think they'll be good to go. If anybody is, I think they will be.
Right. So they all have agreed to follow the standard calendar. So the rest of the games will be played, which I don't have an exact number right now. But the highlight of the games returning May 16th weekend will be highlighted by the Revere Derby between Borussia Dortmund and FC Schalke 04. That is a huge derby, which you would actually like to have the fans there for, but nonetheless a big game. And that'll actually be played on May 16th. And the other game that weekend of note will be Bayern Munich going away to Union Berlin on May 17th. And then the following weekend, we have Dortmund versus Munich, who are fighting for the top of the table there. In the
Maybe we can watch it together. I'll wear my Bayern kit. You can wear your Dortmund kit. We'll virtually watch this together. Yeah,
we'll stay 6 feet apart. And we'll watch it together. I'm down for that. And
who knows? Things could be more open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But that is
well, Ferris, you actually
I'm really excited for
that. As things have been relaxing a little bit in Florida, 25% allowed in a restaurant. You just went to the Dortmund bar, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Hollerbach's the other day, and they provided awesome service and were following everything that they should be. Everything was 6 feet apart. They limited those inside. They had hand sanitizer at each table. All of the servers wore masks and gloves. Like it was. They were doing it very, very good. Everything was according to what the state has.
If you're ever making your
told, and we had a fantastic meal, of course, and.
Yeah, their food's so good. All traditional German food, and their beers are great. If you ever are visiting the Central Florida area, once everything gets back normal again, do yourself a favor. Sanford, between Hollerbach for the German food and beer, and then like places like the Sanford Brewery and
like 3 breweries
Deviant,
out there.
Brewing. Oh, that's such
Deviant
a good place.
Wolf, Compass. Yeah. There's a few of them out there.
Inner Compass, Sanford Brewing, and Wops Hops.
So you go to.
They also have a distillery out there too.
Yeah, I saw that.
You go to the German place for lunch and then just walk everywhere because it's going to take you that time to walk all that food off. And a new smokehouse I tried out there. That was delicious as well. Ooh. Sanford's great, man. I wish it was closer to work. I would live there.
Yep. So that is the La Liga's roundup.
All right.
I feel like we need sound effects for the La Liga's portion now.
Yeah, we do. We got to figure that one out.
Oh, yeah. Something
like a little jingle.
A very
jingle.
European sounding kind of okay, we'll work on that.
Yeah, who is musically competent out there that can put together a little riff for us that we could use on the pod? That'd be appreciated.
We know some people. We definitely know some people.
We could hold a contest.
Yeah.
A contest.
I mean, I also get our buddy who plays traditional instruments to make a weird jingle on our hurdy-gurdy, only because I think that's hysterical.
That's awesome.
Did you just go get another beer, Ferris?
Yeah, I just went to the fridge. I'm not opening it quite up yet, but I'm just getting prepared.
No, it's great. It's just I love the FaceTimes. I'm like, what's he doing? Getting a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, my second beer is not a new one. It's just I didn't have 2 of these, so I get something else. But this beer, by the way, still tasting very good. Now, shall we move on to something a little less controversial?
If we must.
Yeah, so the U.S. Women's National Team lawsuit update.
So this is a pretty big update last week.
Now, this doesn't... On May 1st, federal judge rejected the U.S. Women's National Team player claim they were paid less than the men's national team. They could still push this up higher, though, right?
They can appeal, yes, which I believe they are appealing.
Right, so, but it will have to be an appeal, and they will have to try and overturn Judge Klossner's decision.
I feel like it can be. I mean, I don't even think we have to get controversial. You can literally just lay out I mean, like if you were, I'm saying if I were the lawyer, I don't have to get into like anything beyond the facts. It came down to that Judge Klausner, I believe that's how you say his name. Speaking of Germans, wrote in his decision, members of the U.S. Women's National Team did not prove wage discrimination under the Equal Pay Act because the women's team played more games and made more money than the men's team. Well, to me, that is where the argument, if I were appealing, would end. If the men had qualified for the World Cup, they would have played more games and made more than the ladies.
That's not the only issue, though.
That's not the only issue, though, because the judge also had some other points which I think are strong and really backed his decision on while this specific topic was not approved to go to trial. It was also rejected. The women's team rejected a collective bargaining agreement where they would have had the same pay structure as the men's team in favor of a different CBA. So essentially, the current women's CBA guarantees that players will be compensated regardless of whether they play a match or not, while the men's CBA calls for players to be paid if they are called into camp to play and participate in a match according to this summary judgment.
So that basically, sorry, real quick. So that basically means the women's national team has a salary and the men are pay to play.
Yes.
Yes. So everybody's clear. That's basically what that means.
And there is a reason that exists, in the sense that in the outer world of the sports outside of the national teams, the men are mostly all on salaries playing somewhere, whereas the women are not. If they are playing in places like the NWSL, some of their salaries are funded by the US Soccer, right? Correct. So it's still not a. It's still apples and oranges. It's a very hard thing to to lay out. You know what I mean? Because truly fair would be the women manage to have salaries just from their clubs, and so then they don't need the guaranteed pay. You know what I mean? Right. So it's still
it's still collectively bargained. So whoever the lawyers are for the women or whatever they're representing the zoo, they have to collectively bargain that, the same as men. So whether or not there's a difference in how the league is structured, the professional leagues that is, I think it's hard, and I think what the judge is saying here, it's hard that if you collectively bargain that, you now can't go back on that because you've agreed to those terms.
Right. It's not terms that U.S. Soccer handed you.
Correct.
And you were forced to agree with. You had a period of negotiation between your lawyers and U.S. Soccer's lawyers, and you came to an agreement.
Right, because they needed the guaranteed pay, or you wouldn't have these players because they don't get paid enough in their leagues to actually keep playing soccer.
Or the league wouldn't be as strong, like the NWSL.
Right.
Because the NWSL by itself most likely cannot foot the player's bill fully.
Right. Not at this point.
So
and it'll be a while before they could.
Right. He also wrote that women asking for a court to conclude that women were paid less than men because the women been paid under the men's CBA, they would have earned more than they did under their own CBA. This approach, merely comparing what each team would have under the other team's CBA, is untenable in this case because it ignores the reality that the men's national team and the women's national team bargained for different agreements which reflect different preferences, and that the women's national team explicitly rejected the terms they now seek to retroactively on themselves. He went on saying the evidence is insufficient to create a genuine issue of material fact for trial.
Now, what's interesting about this, in my opinion, I am clearly on the side of equal pay for everybody. But what I think was smart in the way that this judge... What are you doing, Ferris?
I'm just being weird.
He's like doing a who's that British comedian that walked around with a turkey on his head?
Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, he's like being Mr. Bean. Okay.
Sorry. I was listening to everything you were saying.
No worries. So what's interesting is that I think he did a really good job of getting rid of the he said, she said of U.S. Soccer and the players, right? Because there was a lot of kind of U.S. Soccer doing these stupid things and the women fighting about this. And I like that at the end, he just cut it down to the facts.
Correct.
Now, whether you agree with his decision or not, that at this moment in time, I'm not trying to fight one way or another. But I think he really did a good job of getting rid of all of the extraneous stuff that was kind of convoluting the issues.
Yes, 100%.
Well, because the rest of the other stuff, the travel condition, hotels, sports service, all that stuff can still go forward.
Go to trial, correct?
Because those things,
I think that's kind of forgotten here. Because I really think that is also a big
part
issue,
of it.
because that should be the exact same, regardless on whatever the CB. Now, I don't know if they've collectively bargained that portion of it or not. So, but clearly, I don't think they have, because then he would have cited that as to not going to trial because of the
but
CBA.
It also,
you would think, but I do think that needs to be equal regardless, because they work for the same employer, right, and that's my argument on, if we're going to the arguments that are out there right now of, well, the women don't bring in the attendance and the financial funds that the men do. Okay, well, that may be true, but regardless, they still work for the same company.
Right. So the travel benefits should be the same. Your hotels, your per diems. The women get a $10 per diem per day. And they were in France.
Nobody in the country gets
Cup.
that with
That's
any
not even
other job.
Minimum wage anymore.
No.
Right. So under,
that's ridiculous.
I think they won't have a problem winning that, because they are doing the same job, right? No matter how many games you're playing, to pull it down to its rarest, simplest form, the men are being flown to a place where they kick a ball. The women are being flown to a place where they kick a ball. There's no difference in that respect. So the playing terms should be the same. Travel should be the same. Accommodation should be the same. Because that's clearly...
Right. Because it's U.S. soccer, like Fair said. It's not U.S. men's soccer and U.S. women's soccer. It's U.S. soccer.
Right. Correct.
With
they work the same company.
Yes, they work the same place.
Right.
And
now, what's weird is the CBA does determine that while they work for the same company, it's almost like they're unionized under a specific
well, that happens at several
entity,
companies,
which
right?
then you collective bargain your own business. So, like the union of a construction worker working for the same company as that of an IT person is going to have a different union associated with them, right? So that's where that kind of
but a construction worker and an IT person aren't doing the same job.
Right. That is weird. Yeah, that is. I mean, but again, it's the
leagues,
other,
the outside leagues,
that mess that up, right?
The professional leagues.
The guys,
correct.
Again, if they don't go play and don't get, it's cool. They're still getting paid from their league. If the ladies had a bad, yes, the judge's point here is, hey, if you'd have had the guys deal without guaranteed pay, if you don't play, you played more, you'd have made more than they did last year. It's like, well, that's true. But if the women's national team had one bad year, you could lose a ton of great players from the game of soccer in general, because they would all have no money to keep playing.
Right.
So it is not an even playing field. I get where that judge is coming from, but I feel like it glosses over other stuff. And whenever you go to a collective bargaining, right, it's always you give and take. It's not like I don't like the way it's phrased. Like, well, you went and you collectively bargained and you asked for this. No. You go to a collective bargaining agreement and you ask for everything. The people you're bargaining against, the company, asks for all the other stuff, and you have to come to some compromise, right? It's not like both sides walk away going, I got everything I wanted. So even that's, to me, a little disingenuous, because it's not like they got a CBA that just was, they walked in, handed a piece of paper, said, this is everything we want, and they said, okay. That's not how it worked.
Well, if you do remember,
I mean?
the CBAs were kind of tumultuous as it was then, right? Because they couldn't come to terms a few different times, and they just they collectively agreed to extend.
They punted the ball,
right?
Yeah,
and both sides did that on numerous occasions because they couldn't come to a fair agreement.
And the World Cup was about to happen, so
right.
It's like they just had to. So it's. yes, I mean, what the judge is saying is true, but to me, it makes this, if you don't know, if you've never dealt with CBA stuff, it makes it sound like, oh, you just picked that and now you want to go back. Well, that's not how that works, you know?
Yeah, but it's still legally agreed upon, which I think that's where probably he's coming from, is that regardless of what you did come to a compromise, but you legally agreed that this is the compromise. You can't go back on that now until the expiration date of the CBA.
So then if you're U.S. Women's National Team Soccer, you're saying, okay, great, so now we got to spend all the money to go back to court in 2 years? Can we just do this now?
Well, to be honest.
But that's not the judge. Like, the judge doesn't care. He's still saying what has legally been done is this 70-page document, or however big it is, where you collectively agreed upon this. That's a legal document. You can't now go back on that.
Right. The only way you could legally go after it, I guess, would be you would have to prove that U.S. Soccer failed to meet its share of the collective bargaining agreement, and then
right. Well, what they're really
I'm saying to win,
right?
To win the argument they're trying to win, they would have to prove that U.S. Soccer violated the current CBA,
which sounds like it's going to be a tough.
If the men had won the World Cup, they would have made much more money than the ladies. So they would have been equal.
CBA,
but then could you have said, but we're two different sexes working for the same company doing the same job, like Ron said. I mean,
so that's okay. So that's what the lawyers of the U.S. Women's National Team, which there's 28 players on as plaintiffs that are a part of this.
Also, I think part of the argument is saying not paying the men's national team isn't good either. They shouldn't have accepted that on their end, but we're not fighting for them right now. Like that was
right.
Like they should,
But what they have to try to argue is that they do work for the same company. That
it's
is
a
going
mess.
to okay. It is a complete mess. And mind you, we aren't lawyers. We're not. We are being fans, kind of reading a lot of this. A lot of this info we're providing tonight was provided to us by info on the interwebs by CNN. So I want to make sure that that's known. But what I think is interesting is the appeal is going to be an uphill battle as well, where because of the CBA, which we've said so many times now, is going to be the real argument to that. And the only way you could really go about that, from what I can see, that would be a viable argument, would be to go after that the U.S. did not uphold their side of it, to Ron's point.
You say that, but the problem is that is not how this... Yes, but this judge is not a union fan. If the appeal goes to a judge that thinks unions are a good thing, then it might go their way. Like there's also the personal bias of
But then wouldn't that be a tough argument for a judge to tell a corporation that you have to essentially abolish CBAs that you have in there?
No, he's just saying that you can move forward with your case to argue it.
No. I'm saying for the appeal.
Right. Yeah. No. So the appeal, the person could look at it and say, no, at the end of the day, just like we had said, if the men had gone to the World Cup, they would have made a lot more and done the same thing for the same company. So yeah. I'm going to overturn that, and you can move forward with your case. Because this decision isn't meaning you win or lose. It's about whether the trial can happen.
Correct.
So you could get someone going, well, it's probably, even if you got a judge who was like, I think 51-49, it goes in the favor of the ladies, but hey, that's still 51. So sure, go ahead. Go. You can go to trial based on what you've shown me.
And it doesn't mean you're going to win that trial. It just means you can move on.
It just means, and but it's the thing that U.S. Soccer doesn't want to happen, because the longer they are in, it is going to be hard to make the women's team look bad. The longer a trial were to go on, it is probably more likely that U.S. Soccer will look worse, just based off, you remember all the crap they were doing that was so stupid prior to what's-his-nuts resigning. Like they don't want that, because it would look bad, I think.
So, well, I think it's going to be I think the women are in a very tough place right now to say discriminatory with wages. It's a very tough argument that they are going to have to pose because of what has been set in the past with the CBA, which has been bargained across. So they really have to say that CBA was unjust or unfair.
Well, yeah, but they can say that. They can say the CBA has us.
How though? Because
just like
they've
this.
agreed to that.
Hold
That's
on,
the
just
hard
like
part
this.
legally.
No, shut up. This like this. You're not in the studio, so I can't throw things at you. It's like this. I love when we get the women's national team going. It always gets fiery. It is because they can say we're over a barrel when we bargain because we do not have the league behind us like the men do. So it's already an unfair situation.
Right, but the judge could always say it is a free market out there. The NWSL and the leagues behind it does not revenue income make as much, which is why the U.S. have to be supplemented and you have to do it that way. That's a hard argument. Regardless of what we can sit here and argue and say that we all believe they should be paid the same, if it's going back to the league,
but you just said,
the NWSL does
no,
not.
No, but that's not what you said. You said arguing against the CBA they agreed to. Well, they can make the argument we were over a barrel. We had to agree because of this setup, right?
Right, but that's going to be hard for the judge to say because the setup is also not in their favor because the NWSL as a league or how they are doing it they just don't bring in the same income. So a judge could sit there and go, well, it doesn't bring in the same income, so how are they supposed to pay you the same?
That's true, but the fact still exists that they have to bargain a CBA from a severe position of weakness compared to the men.
It's different because the men are getting salaries and other,
and that's the different. And that, but their argument is, it's different, so we're getting screwed.
Right, but to prove that or to go to trial to then prove that that's a discriminatory nature is going to be a very tough uphill battle. I think that's kind of what was always forgotten here is that this is in legal terms, it's going to be a tough uphill battle.
Also, the NWSL is not really admissible in this because in the women's lawsuit doesn't mention salary from the NWSL. So by the finer point of the law from everything that I've been reading, the NWSL and the women's finances from that part aren't really that big of a factor. So it is not likely that a judge is going to have sympathy for the actions of the other league that the women play in. So that's a tough spot, especially if you're going to say, and I agree with you, Blake, I don't think the negotiating terms and the negotiating environment are all that fair to the ladies.
Yes.
But I don't know that that's going to be admissible when they get to the lawsuit if it were to go to trial, because none of that is really in the ladies' lawsuit against U.S. soccer.
Yeah, but couldn't you just circle it to the simple argument of if the guys had played as many games, they'd have been paid more? Why is that?
Yeah, so yes,
for the same
can.
company,
but you're still going to have to fight the CBA. I'm not saying you're wrong, Blake. I'm just saying the reality is you can say that we work for the same company and we should have the same, pay. We should have the same benefits and all that. And the judge, like he did here, has a very real possibility of saying you negotiated a bunch of these things out so that you could have a salary. And I think that's the crux of that part of the argument is the ladies seem to be trapped by their own CBA.
I'm just hearing you guys hate America and you hate the women's national team.
Whatever.
That is what I'm hearing in these arguments right now. And I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Yeah,
I'm not giving,
exactly it.
To be honest, I'm not giving, my opinion is the women should be paid what they deserve for the job they do. They should have the same travel. They should have the same accommodations. Yes. They should have the same playing fields and playing conditions.
Oh, especially the artificial turf bull crap. Yeah.
So I went back and kind of did my own research. And while, I'm no Pinkerton detective agency, the men played for 2019, the men played on one artificial turf playing surface for that entire year. The women played on 18.
Yeah.
And 9 of those, the men, the 9 of those are the same venue the men played in, and U.S. Soccer literally rolled out the green carpet and put grass over artificial turf. But then when the ladies had to play there, they were forced to play on artificial turf.
Which, that's the smartness of the ladies' case, too, though, is that all these items are individual.
It's in 2 separate,
Right? Like the going forward.
And that's where I go back to saying that it was kind of forgotten with this big news where it says they were dealt a blow on the discriminatory factor, but that there's other places going to trial, because I think that's just as fair with this.
Because even if the
legally is just going to be the CBAs getting past that.
Even if it
has to take a smart lawyer team to maneuver around that to get the 80s what it is that they want and what they desire.
It doesn't help you today, but it puts U.S. Soccer in a real crappy position for. It doesn't help you if you're the women's national team today, I'm saying. But if this gets upheld, or even if the appeal goes through, but they still lose the money portion of the case, but win the other side of the case, when it comes time again for both the men and women's CBAs, I think U.S. Soccer is in a tougher spot now to negotiate if they lost things like, look, we had to go to court to get equal travel, so we're coming into this negotiation hard. You know what I mean?
Which I think is actually not a bad thing for the women's side of things, because that's put U.S. Soccer on blast in the media.
Yeah, they could lose
where they have been.
Exactly.
So whether or not they lose this or not, the next CBA will probably go in their favor, because the U.S. Soccer Federation is going to have a hard time getting away with any shenanigans that they may have pulled based on the media coverage towards them.
If they win the travel stuff and the playing field stuff, because the charter flights, the hotel accommodations, sports services, medical and training support, those, if they win those, again, like, I went to court and had this crap to deal with just to get this, it would seem like that would put them, U.S. Soccer, in a very tough place. So you could lose a battle but win the war, in other words, as a women's national team here. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you think about it, the climate of U.S. soccer is drastically different with a new person at the helm. Right? So that's another kind of floating variable that we have yet to see how that's going to play out.
This will make or break her.
Well, she's a former U.S. women's national team player. She started 7 matches the year the women won the Brandy Chastain World Cup, and 1999? Yeah, 99. So that also remains to be seen how that's going to handle it. Either way, it is in both the women's national team side and U.S. Soccer's side. It's both in their best interest to come to a resolution on this as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you kind of feel like U.S. Soccer should. I mean, I guess you don't really want it to go to this. Like, if the trial moves forward, even on the other stuff, you're just like, dude, just go ahead and do this. Just go ahead and do it.
In the Court of Popular Appeals, U.S. Soccer has most of its teeth knocked out and a gigantic black eye.
Yes.
Right? So U.S. Soccer can't afford another black eye.
Right.
Right? So, in my opinion, the best thing is for them to mediate off an agreement and not have to go to trial.
Yeah.
Right? Because here's the thing. Here's the... this sounds weird, but the global sport of women's soccer is, yes, it is having hardships in the U.S., but it is suffering on the global scale, right? The amount of money a men's team wins for winning the World Cup is $440 million. The Federation for Women, even though Infantino said we're going to double it, they still only make $60 million. So my thing is, U.S. Soccer and the U.S. women's national team need to settle their differences, put all their chips in the same bag, and then go leverage FIFA.
Yeah.
Because FIFA's $7.2 trillion, $7.2 billion profit. And they said, oh, we're gonna invest more into women's soccer. We're putting 30% more in. Well, that's still 13 times. If you win the World Cup as the ladies, you still get 13 times less money.
And the thing is, they could cut that spigot on to not even to increase the money for winning the World Cup, but to spread it around and lift the game up overall for women.
Correct.
Which, by the way, when you do that, it also lifts the men up. If FIFA invests to help stadiums and stuff and training facilities get built, boys and girls are going to use them. You know what I mean? It's just going to make any areas better. So, like, yes, but FIFA doing something right with all their cats. What was that guy who had the cats in his?
Oh yeah,
Chuck.
Oh God,
Chuck Blazer. Or something?
Chuck Blazer. That was it, dude.
Something
Yep.
like that,
Oh man, yeah. Like
Cat Hotel in
right.
Manhattan.
He had a name like he should have been an aviator, but instead he was not.
So I really think that they need, both sides need to come to an agreement and then go leverage FIFA.
And then
because there are leagues around the world that are playing soccer for women that weren't as close as 5 years ago, right? So I think,
and some of them are doing pretty well, like France and stuff. They're women's league doing well. Yeah.
Who was just in the U.S. women played who in the last one? Netherlands
For what, the World Cup?
Yeah,
The Dutch.
yeah, right. And so the Dutch team, the Dutch league for women has only been sinking money and going after it for the past 4 years. And in their 4th year, they went to the World Cup. So the women's game is rapidly advancing, and FIFA could have an amazing seat at the table to promote the global sport of women's soccer. But they're just kind of falling short.
Well, and not for nothing, but depending on how this whole thing shakes out with the whole, like, the academies and all this kind of stuff with the kids, and like if something good doesn't really replace the situation, women and men's national team soccer in the States could, I'm not going to say we go backwards necessarily, but we could stagnate.
Right.
And the problem is you won't know until like 10 years from now. You know, like when some of these people who would have been in these programs or whatever that, and yes, there's a lot of pay to play we don't like, but we also haven't been told. The replacement right now is kind of sort of a thing by MLS, and there's still so many questions around that. And especially what's going on with the coronavirus right now, just in general, nobody getting together for any sports. U.S. soccer is really, I feel like, at a scary spot for its future. Not for today, not for next year, but like a decade from now, seeing where things are.
Yeah, I think, again, everybody needs to go sit down at the table. I think everybody needs to be humble and do the best to help the other side succeed.
And you guys just need to love America and the women's national team.
They can't do that. I mean, that's the.
And you guys just need to love America and love the women's national team again. Well, I'll help you. I'll help.
Whatever.
Give me a break. For those of you out there wondering how long the U.S. Women's National Team CBA is set for, it goes from 2017 all the way to 2021. So it could line up perfectly. And I think, honestly, to Blake, to what the point you said earlier is, while
this is the bargaining chip,
Federation could win the battle here, the war may not necessarily be won when it comes to a new CBA for the U.S. Women's National Team.
And the men are going to pay attention. And if I were the men, I'd come right back in and say, cool, we want ours, but add us the guaranteed pay. Let's make this equal across the board. And it helps them as well.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Hold on. Are we all skipping a big point here? That the men CBA to pay to play, yet they f***ing suck? and they aren't motivated enough to earn not only the respect of their country, but the financial implications with that they can't even get out of one of the worst CONCACAF federations out there. How bad are we when it comes to that? That you CBA into pay to play, and you're not even motivated enough, whether for your country or to get paid, and you can't get it out of the CONCACAF division. Off.
Yeah.
You ain't lying.
God bless America while we're at it.
You ain't lying, man. I mean, it's a U.S. soccer's got its work cut out for itself, period.
Yeah, and it's not the problems. Look, even if it goes to trial and the women win across the board, it's still not going to fix U.S. soccer, right?
True.
What it's going to do is, rightly so, in my opinion, it will pay it will pay everybody what they should be getting, right? But it's not going to fix the problems U.S. soccer inherently has.
Uh-huh.
So it's going to take someone with a lot of cojones to roll up their sleeves and fix
or
the
ovaries.
That
they don't just have cojones. They could have ovaries too.
That's fair. I was being metaphorical. Because I know a lot of women who have more balls than men.
That's true, yeah.
I liked Ferris's face when I said that. It was worth it, right?
Speaking of CBA.
Speaking of ovaries, what?
Right? Speaking of CBAs, Ron, doesn't your beer news start off with a nice CBA?
I'm going to crack another beer.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean,
it certainly does.
I'm just doing a Guinness Extra Foreign Stout in this one. I did not have two of those blondes, unfortunately.
I'm doing another one of these Hurricane Reefs.
I'm going to go with a goodie, but a classic.
I'd have to go run to the garage to get mine, so I'll wait a minute.
All right.
I didn't think ahead. I didn't bring two. So, some craft beer news.
Damn it. This thing again. Trying to get the bottle open.
You are so bad at that.
Ron was the worst for a while, but I think I've taken
was the worst
this mechanical
while,
bottle top opener.
I just wasn't allowing it to go to its full stroke.
Yeah, I had to really slam it down.
If I had a nickel.
So while we're all having a good time in the COVID, there's a lot been going on in the beer world. And if you're a fan of craft beers, this kind of headline is a little bit disheartening. The Craft Beer Alliance, which is essentially the largest group of breweries, like craft breweries, they posted a $45.8 million in beer sales in the first quarter. And if you're keeping a tally of barrels at home, that's 154,000 barrels of beer since the start of the year.
154,000 bottles of beer on the wall, 150,000 bottles of beer, take one down, pass it around, 153,999 bottles of beer. Like, this is the CBA that we actually like. This is the correct CBA.
So that's down $4 million US from the first quarter of last year, which is a 6.1% decline in the total shipment of this company's different beers. Now, the Craft Beer Alliance, their brands are pretty popular. Kona Brewing, very popular one. Widmer Brothers, another popular one. Omission, which is really popular for making gluten-free beers.
Well, it actually says it had a positive volume at plus 5% for that particular one.
Yeah, that's the only one of their brands that was up in the first quarter. Appalachian Mountain Brewery is theirs. Cisco Brewers is theirs. Wynwood Brewers is there. Now, here's the thing that was really kind of news to me and is a little bit saddening, is in February of this year, the Craft Brew Alliance board and the stakeholders voted unanimously to merge with Anheuser-Busch InBev.
Well, screw them. That's
Why
why
not?
That's why they dropped
Why not?
in. Now I'm not worried so much about their about that decline.
So the shares for the Craft Brew Alliance,
God, InBev just swallowing it all up.
yeah, were at like $26 US per share. And when InBev went in and negotiated it, the CBA essentially gave it to them for $16.04 a share.
What really sucks about this, by the way, is Kona, I will see the grocery store. Widmer, time to time, I'll see the grocery store. Emission here and there. Appalachian Mountain Brewery, Siska Brewers, Wynwood, not so much. But when they merge with InBev, they will get more shelf space and push out other breweries. That's what sucks.
Correct.
Like, and that's what I hate about the whole distribution system here. And I would actually argue that, like, you tell me they have a decline in sales and I'm looking at who they have, I'm not super shocked. Like,
Well, and
these are not some of the more, like, these aren't your New Belgian. If you said that was New Belgian and like Sierra Nevada, I'd be like, oh no.
Well, is Appalachian Mountain Brewery, Cisco Breweries, and Wynwood are very regional beers. They're not. Kona Brewing is obviously
It's
national,
wine, but it's
if
all
not
over
international.
the place. Yeah.
Right. Widmer Brothers is pretty much national, and Omission is pretty much everywhere. So half of the brands that the Craft Brew Alliance has aren't that popular, except for regionally.
Right.
Well, and I'll be very curious to see if postings for Q2 not only go up because of the merge with InBev, but also if, being that April and May are the two big months of the stay at home pretty much across the globe, and people are really having much more libations, that if they don't post higher numbers going into Q2 because a lot of these beers is kind of the only thing to do right now
and
in terms of stay at home, and they go up. So I'm curious to see what Q2 does, and it's going to see how this trend could potentially be going.
I think Q2 for the kind of like your Dogfish Heads, your Sierra Nevada stuff that you see in the grocery store, I feel like those won't be that bad. They may even see a bump. I'm more concerned because there's not as many folks like us who will go out to Sun Creek breweries and Crooked Cans and support the local, because people are staying, like we would go get our growlers filled or whatever, but not everybody's, going to do that. Some breweries were smart doing the crowler cans, trying to make it convenient for people. But if you're only making one run to go out for your family for essentials, and they've got beer there, you're probably just going to get what's at the grocery store. So I'm more.
But if a lot of these are going to be, to your point, with InBev, and they're going to get that grocery store space now, that's where those numbers could go up.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And the other thing that we haven't taken into consideration is once Anheuser-Busch InBev actually takes ownership, how many of these are they just going to shelve?
Oh, yeah. They'll disappear.
Right.
Kona, because Kona's in so many bars and breweries, that'll stay because that's all over the place.
Yeah.
That'll make them money.
Right.
Omission, they're gluten-free beer, so that's a specific kind of thing. They'll keep that going.
Stay.
Right.
Widmer is so popular out in the Northwest. I don't see that disappearing. But yeah, I'm with you.
Appalachian Mountain, Cisco, and Wynwood could all just be shelved.
Right. Could be.
Yeah.
Right. This
Along
isn't the first
with
time,
other ones.
Right. This isn't the first time Anheuser-Busch InBev has bought craft breweries
And they
and shut them
disappeared.
down.
Yeah, the only one they kept going that's a big one is Goose Island.
So I pulled that up. If you give me a minute.
Oh, he's on top of this. It's our roving reporter who's not roving because he's
Good old Ron's beer news.
our Rona reporter.
Right. Sorry, I just got to pull up the tab.
I still feel like I need to apologize for the Corona Fast and Furious joke from earlier. I really meant that as a Corona joke, not a coronavirus joke. And I just feel terrible about it. It was a bad joke from the beginning. I apologize, listeners.
Hey, then that means that you now have to apologize for every dad joke that you tell on.
Oh, no.
Because they're...
Oh, thanks for reminding me.
So Anheuser-Busch InBev obviously has all the Bud Light franchises. The Labatt Blue, Natural Light, Rolling Rock, Alexander Keith's, Michelob Ultra, Kokanee. They own Elysian, Kona, Red Hook, Goose Island, Breckenridge Brewing, Shock Top. Sorry, I can't read this one. Blue Point, Land Shark. Then
Blue
they
Point?
own,
Like the toasted lager? Is that
Yep.
InBev?
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't know that was InBev now, man.
Yep.
Oh,
Corona,
that sucks.
Corona, Pacifico, Stella, Hoegaarden, Pilsner Urquell, Beck's, Boddington's. There's a bunch I'm leaving out because they're not as popular in the U.S. Leffe, Spaten.
Leffe you do see a lot, though.
Especially out in the Northwest.
Yeah.
Grolsch, Victoria, Bass, Skoll, Quellman's, Victorian Bitters, Negro Modelo.
Oh, Victorian Bitter? That's the Aussie one. I didn't know they had that one.
Yep.
Dang.
So that's just a few of
Jeez.
what they own. Then Molson Coors owns obviously all the Molson and Molson and Coors. But if you remember Keystone Ice, they own that one.
Oh God, those commercials with the bitter beer face.
Yep.
Oh,
And the specially
yes.
lined can.
I forgot about that. The bitter beer face. Oh, my God.
Yep. Franciscan Well, Killian's Irish Red, Carling, Caffrey's, Blue Moon, Leinenkugel's, Third Shift, Richards, Grantville, Batch 19, Colorado Native, and then it goes on for Heineken owns the Heinekens, Murphy's, Irish Red, and all those. Hacker Shore, they own Lagunitas, they own Amstel, Tecate, Dos Equis. So,
and you said though, Ron, that like Pacifico is in the InBev category of things, right? And
correct.
Listen, it's not that we are against InBev here, because while we disagree with some of the things and how they're kind of monopolizing a lot of this.
Hey, look, they're using the system that exists. I don't like the system.
Correct. But it does provide good things. Pacifica, we could usually not get over here on the southern, southeast United States. It's now, you can find it pretty much anywhere in town, which is nice. That's part of what InBev can do, is they can put it on shelves and make it more accessible. What they do is they kind of pick and choose which ones they want to do that with. Now, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. That's good business to a degree. But what it reversely does, it puts certain breweries and certain beers out of existence almost in a way by pushing them off the shelves and to the side because of what they're doing.
Which is essentially the nature of the business.
Right.
The reason I'm not as happy with the big five, if you will, is that it's the predatory practices of taking over other breweries that I have the problem with. Right. So that, like you said, in some ways it's really good, in other ways it's really bad.
Right.
But this deal isn't done yet. It's still waiting regulatory approval from the DOJ.
They're gonna approve it. If Disney can buy everything, they're gonna approve it.
So
is Disney going to buy InBev?
Disney's going to buy
That's
InBev.
the next question.
And you're going to get InBev Plus. It'll be your new...
and then soon it'll be Mickey Mouse beer.
Yeah, right.
Pluto Porter.
I love it.
I mean, I would drink a Donald Duck bitter pale ale. I mean, that fits, I feel like,
No, because Donald Duck would have a Dunkel.
Oh, Donald Dunkel. Oh, that's so bad.
You're welcome. So, let's see. In other news, some fun stories that I picked out. Good City Brewing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin bought an old bank branch and opened it as a brewery, but specifically for drive-through.
Brilliant.
So no one's allowed
awesome.
inside. You just drive up and they
you're selling
give you your beer through the drive-up window.
That's brilliant because as a startup too, you aren't spending any money on a liquor license for serving in. And that's a big chunk of change, right?
Well, and it actually fits a lot to what Up North does. It's a lot of drive-through convenience stores to where you can drive through and pick
Did
up
you guys
stuff.
ever go hang out in the Outer Banks, North Carolina with the brew-throughs?
No, but they
do you know
do
what I'm
have them
talking
in
about?
Louisiana.
They had them in Ohio as well.
There's brew-throughs in Ohio?
I believe so. Yeah.
Why the hell? That's a beach thing. Why is there a brew through it?
Well, in Louisiana, they're not named that. They're just liquor stores and beer stores.
Correct,
but you can drive through. And,
Correct.
And they hand you the liquor out the window.
That's so good. Well, that's so awesome. Oh my God.
And in Louisiana, as long as they don't take straws off of mixed drinks, it's legal.
Yeah, they put
the paper.
They
off
put the
straw.
paper on the straw. Yeah, yeah.
That is a loophole and a half right there, and I love it.
I mean, when I went to New Orleans, I went to New Orleans right before this happened. I mean, literally, I flew back as theme parks in Florida were closing and everything else. Like it was wild. But every time I've gone to New Orleans twice, and it's just ridiculous that you're like, well, it was for work. I'm a little tired, but I'm in New Orleans, so I'm going to get up. I'm going to go for a walk and buy drinks and walk and drink them because I can. Isn't that silly? But that's like I got to do it. I want to walk around, wave at a cop, say hey with my hurricane or my beer, walking down
or
the
your
street.
grenade handle.
Yeah, grenade handle. Yeah, no, I tried to go with all. I think I did. I think I went with all beers that are. The company Abita has some they only have in like New Orleans and stuff like that. I was trying to do stuff that was local. There were some plenty good local beers, but it's just ridiculous. You're like, I can walk down the street with a beer. I gotta get one. Yeah.
Right.
So dumb.
So yeah, good on Good City Brewing in Milwaukee. If you live over there, go over there, give them some support, and tell us how the drive-through experience is, because that cool. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Pick up your withdrawal at the bank. I mean, I hope that's what they do.
Right.
Here's my deposit slip.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Back when you needed that. That's so great. In the weird beers category for beer news, Upcountry Brewing in Asheville, North Carolina is rolling out a dill pickle goes beer.
Bro, I want that now in my mouth. That sounds awesome.
I was skeptical on the dill pickle Lay's chips that came out, but those are fantastic. So I'm assuming the beer is going to be
absolutely terrible.
either really, really terrible or amazing. One of the two.
Amazing.
It's a 4.8% ABV on that goes beer. Feel free, if you're over there, send us some. We'll give it a try.
That's my parents live over there, so that is what I'm requesting for Christmas. Hopefully, I'll be able to see them by Christmas. Every time they've come to visit, whether Thanksgiving or Christmas, they always bring something. I think we have one on the pod that we can't get, around here. That's gonna be my request. I want that dill pickle ghost beer. Oh man, that sounds good.
I want to try it. That's for sure.
On a hot day, bro. Yeah. You have that beer, or you do a shot of vodka, then chase it with that ghost pickle beer, like a pickleback.
God Almighty, you're a nasty man.
Dude, this sounds. I mean,
that sounds like projectile vomit.
I gotta go get me like an air fryer to fry up some dill pickle chips and like.
Gross.
I'm excited about this.
My
wife
will tell me how it goes.
Hey, buddy. Nope. That's a. We'll keep one around for you when you get back.
Gross.
Have a pot of neck throat while you're at it,
dude. It's on like a pot of neck bone. Whatever. It's on like Donkey Kong and a pot of neck bone. But you could have some pickled pig's feet with that, and it'd probably be just about right.
No, I don't do chicken feet in China. I'm not doing pig's feet in the U.S.
The worst one, it's not pig feet. It's when you got the jar of pig knuckle. Because for some reason, pig knuckle just sounds worse than pig feet. Even though pig feet, they walk around in crap, so you think like that'd be worse. But something about pig knuckle, and then to watch someone eat it, but sounds like a ghost pickle beer would. I'd go with it pretty well.
I can't. I gotta change the subject.
Oh God, I want it.
So let's see what else. Lord Hobo Brewing in Woburn, Massachusetts, celebrated their 5th anniversary. That's pretty awesome.
Not had
Love
them,
Lord Hobo.
Right? Did we get them in a pod? Yeah, we did. We got them.
Boom Sauce, or we had a few.
Boom Sauce. Yeah. They promoted Nathan Whipple from president to president from COO.
That's cool because his dad was the toilet paper guy, right? That's a
wow.
We'll see if any 70-year-old people are listening to this and get that joke. Mr. Whipple. What was it? Charmin? He would squeeze the.
Yes.
That is an old commercial.
Don't squeeze the Charmin.
Hey, we went from incestual brother and sister Folgers commercial to Mr. Whipple's toilet paper commercials.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's true. Hey, you're still on.
Ferris,
Mike,
you know,
Put them up already.
Ferris, if you
Ferris.
I'll talk to you.
what's amazing, just for those of you listening at home, so Ferris just lifted his headset on his head to talk to his lady so that we wouldn't hear, except that when he does that, it means the microphone dangling just below his earphone is now directly in front of his lips. So it cut through so loud. And you're like trying to say? But we're like
whispering.
Hey, dude, but your headphones are on your head so you can't hear. And you're whispering, but it's the loudest whisper ever.
I can't believe they sold it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's taking place, and items are being sold on some Facebook Marketplace stuff. So that's what we were discussing. So sorry, that's funny.
No, that's great.
So great. No, it's fine.
It just was funny because you were trying to be smooth about it, and you could look at it, and I could literally see the microphone dangling in front of your lips. Like, it's great. It's okay. Ron is still fighting with crickets. We're all good here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any choice.
I like this third half being, or the second half being about this beer news. It makes me happy.
Yeah. So essentially, this new president, Nathan
Whipple,
he's got Nathan Whipple
of the toilet paper family.
Yeah, he is coming in with a lot of ideas, and they're doing a bunch of new distribution and repackaging, and in order to make the brewery more financially stable, they're scrapping the New York City tap room.
They might have timed that out just right.
Boy,
wow!
I agree with you completely. Whew. So keep looking for some Lord Hobo Brewing. They have some fantastic beers, and I think we should expect great things from them in the future. Also, in the COVID news is Harpoon Brewing from Boston, Mass. releases a beer called For the Frontline, a community ale. It's a re-release of the brewery's original Harpoon Ale that was first brewed in 1986. Proceeds go to the Boston Boston Resiliency Fund, and it's to support all the medical professionals that were on the front line.
That's awesome.
Ron, to tie back to the last beer news you did, what was that beer called that was the collaboration when all these breweries are doing across the country, doing their variation on this specific style of beer?
Yeah.
All in this together beer, something like that?
All
together?
Yeah, all in this together, something like that.
I don't know if you noticed.
That hasn't come out in the area yet, though.
No,
right?
I think it has.
It has.
It was at Sun Creek Brewery because they had not dropped it when I went. It had not come out yet. Was it out when you went over there, Ron?
No, but I called. God, the name is failing me. The brewery that we went to as press when it first opened.
Ivanhoe Park. Yeah.
Ivanhoe Park sold out of their bit, and they're rebrewing.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna go.
I missed that.
Okay. When I asked at Rock Pit, they were like, "Oh, it's not ready yet." But I don't know. Rock Pit isn't really known for its friendly service, in my opinion. They have some solid beers. The staff is a little grunty. So I don't know when they're going to have it.
Ron getting personal on the beer reviews.
Rock Pit is a great brewery. Good beers, good vibe. There's a beer store there where you can buy like home brew stuff. But Ron, with the staff, it's hit or miss. I know what you're talking about there. Yeah. Before
we go to Ron's next section too, I'd like to throw out a shout out, but I need your help, Ferris. Who was the beer that you brought us for my birthday? That they brewed a beer that specifically went to pay their staff who could not work, like the servers and stuff.
Yes. It was from Bowjins, which is a brewery in Castleberry up here, and they are making some great beers right now.
It was a great beer, and it was
called Socially Distant. It's a West Coast style red IPA, 8.2 ABV, 75 on the IBU meter with Simcoe and Cascade hops, and it was a fantastic beer.
And it was cool because the proceeds all went for their staff that can't work in house while this was going on. It was awesome.
Yeah, and it sold out as of May 1st, so it didn't last too terribly long there. But they're making some good stuff. One of which may be an appearance on a pod once we're all back together. So
sweet.
That I have not shared the name of yet.
And that was All Together Brew. I just want to correct myself. It was All Together Beer.
Gotcha. All Together Beer.
Yeah.
And at that time, there were 440 breweries in 29 countries. And now it is up to 749 breweries in 51 countries.
That's awesome.
So, just so you know. So some other COVID-19 impact on the beer industry. The National Beer Wholesalers Association estimates that nearly $1 billion in lost product is going to hit the beer industry.
Ugh.
Now, when I read that, I kind of thought they were sensationalizing, because I thought, well, beer, you just sell it later.
Oh no, but as I read your stuff, this makes sense though.
Yeah, it's not that easy. So there's a massive supply of the past prime untapped kegs all across the country, right? And when I say past the prime, it's past basically roughly an 8-week window, right? We've all been in quarantine for longer than 8 weeks, right? So essentially, think about all of the beer that people would be drinking at bars and at sporting events like March Madness, the delayed baseball season, NBA cancel, NHL cancel, MLS cancel, or, delay, right? All of the beer that people would be consuming at bars or at venues.
As you said, St. Patrick's Day canceled. I mean, geez.
Yeah. St. Patrick's Day is another big one. So all of this beer is sitting in kegs in various places all over the country, and it's going to or already passed its 8-week, and I'm using
Prime,
the 8-week is kind of a rough but rule of thumb, if you will. So all of those are past their prime, and essentially a lot of places don't know what to do with it, right? Do they pour it out? Do they give it away? Do they?
Well, you educated me with that. I did not realize that it was more perishable in a keg than in a can and bottle.
Right.
I guess I just thought a pressurized keg's as good as a 12-ounce can. I didn't realize that.
No, it's more susceptible to spoil in the keg, because also it's not externally pressurized, once you get it in the keg, right? Whereas, it is externally pressurized once you've put it in the keg. That's why you need the CO2 to drive it.
Right.
Right. But bottle conditioning and canning, you don't have, you get a bit more leeway because everything's going to be pressurized shortly thereafter because it's such a small vessel. Right. So it looks the National Beer Wholesalers Association estimates that most breweries have about $30,000 to $40,000 worth of inventory sitting around.
Jeez.
That they aren't able to sell because of different FDA laws, and whether or not, the FDA is one thing, but if you're going to sell a whole bunch of beer that's past its prime and it's not good, you're just tarnishing your brewery's not relationship with the customer,
but your reputation.
The reputation. Thank you. So people are going to stop coming. So a lot of people don't know what to do with it. Now, an interesting thing is I thought, well, just dump it. But there are huge environmental impacts to just kind of dumping it down the drain or into your local waterway with the amount of hops in various beers and yeast in the various beers. Now, this doesn't seem like it would make that big a difference, but
it adds
one
up,
thing
I guess, right?
Is wildlife. If you just dump this out into the environment, right? most wildlife, when they eat, or in this case, drink hops, they become hyperthermic, not hypothermic.
Oh yeah, you got to
right?
be really careful. If you brew at home, if your dog gets hold of your hops, you can kill the dog.
Correct.
Damn.
Yeah.
What it does is it shuts down the animal's ability to regulate its temperature. So it'll
Isn't that
overheat and
wild?
die.
Yeah.
Right? So there's huge environmental impacts to just, quote, dumping it out. So faced with thousands of gallons of beer that can't be delivered to restaurants or hotels due to quarantines or bars, there's a growing amount of breweries that are giving the beer away. So Willinger Brauhaus in Hesse, Germany, it was the first one. They gave out 34,000 barrels of beer. And essentially they have like free beer Tuesday.
Because also think about this, dude. The stuff being brewed that they were planning to do for Oktoberfest that's already been canceled. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
I know a lot it's done later because it's fresh, but still, man.
Yeah, but you'd be, you're brewing year round to handle something like Oktoberfest.
Right. And if you got fresh ingredients to make your Oktoberfest beers that you're now not going to need to harvest or purchase because you aren't making as many, like, you know what I mean?
You don't have the kegs to store it.
Geez,
you don't have the warehouse to store it.
But I mean,
because you have all this other beer.
I just mean it even goes further, right, to the farmer, to the it just it like ripples out.
Yeah. So there's a growing number of breweries that are just giving beer away on like free beer Tuesdays. You can
see that worked better because when you whispered,
a little better.
It wasn't right into your microphone. That worked better.
It's so funny.
I'm trying to get another beer.
Okay, good man.
Can I have one too?
Yeah, sure. I'll ship it to you.
So that's a pretty huge unintended consequence to the beer industry. There's the South African breweries. That's a conglomerate of breweries in Cape Town, South Africa, that looks like they're going to have to dump or give away 400 million bottles of beer, which is basically 34 million gallons of beer.
Lord. That was a really good can crack that far away from your microphone, by the way.
You could hear that can crack?
Yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah, that was a great can crack.
Yeah, that was good. So
awesome.
in some countries like India, Thailand, Panama, Sri Lanka, they all have alcohol bans. So beer can't be given away. It can't be sold. It can't be made. Nothing.
Guys, we need to rent a boat.
Yeah, it's interesting. This kind of reminds me of, and it's not quite the same, but what it kind of reminds me of is during another just very bad part of time in mainly this country, when Katrina hit Louisiana, all of the beer supply that was supposed to go there was distributed out to the southeast. And anything that Budweiser had at the time was sent down here. I remember being in college, we'd get a case of Bud for like $20 because they just needed to get rid of everything that was supposed to go to Louisiana, had to be shipped other areas, and they were selling it at like cost. It was just so freaking cheap that we stocked up for what should have been for like a month, but lasted in a week because we were in college.
And when you're in college,
beer pong and everything, anyway. But it kind of reminds me of that, to where this needs to go other areas. So you can either give it away, sell it dirt cheap, do whatever, but you have to find some place for this to go, or else it going to like the environmental cost of trying to get rid of that. Then what impact does that have? Is it worth doing that, or just giving it away to people?
Unfortunately. The next part of this that you don't have down here, Ron, is that there will be smaller breweries that never come back because of this.
Correct.
Like that it will, whether they get bought up or they just fade away to history, like that.
Right.
And that is very sad.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty astounding look at the impact of COVID on just the beer industry. Now extrapolate to that to, the food industry.
Right. Yeah, because it's all tied together. The sports industry, like you said, the events industry. Yeah, they all
local business industry. How many mom and pop type shops and your local areas that you go are really hurting right now. So if you can support anywhere that's like that now, whether it's through takeout or it's through the social distancing type things, please
I talked about it.
We have to support this.
I talked about earlier. Podrun and I are going to pick up a smoker I bought. I was going to order this smoker in from some place, but I knew that our local little smokehouse restaurant, Uncle Kenny's, that he would sell smokers if you talk to him. So I was like, I want to go through him, support him, get him money, because it really was if this wasn't going on, I don't know if I'd have made that decision, but it was just like, oh, wait a minute. Let me reach out to him. Cause if someone's getting my money, I'd rather it go to this guy,
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you can, the takeaway from this is support your local breweries, right? It's easy to go to your local grocery store, Instacart, Whole Foods, and buy some national brand, which there's nothing wrong with the national brands, but your local one where on a Friday night you want to go down there and have a beer with some friends, maybe play a game at their thing or do trivia night at their thing. If you don't support them now, they might not be there later.
Well, and here's what's great. They have all adapted so well to basically curbside or pickup service. Get your essential groceries or whatever, and then just call ahead and get your 6-pack on the way out. You know what I mean? If you can, because a few people doing that a day will keep these small, and these really are like American dream mom and pop places. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
And it's awesome. Blake, what was it? I didn't get a chance to do it, but I know you and Ron did it. Where one of the breweries, Sun Creek, I think it was giving away hand sanitizer.
Yeah, Sun Creek and
so they're doing
Claremont.
awesome initiatives to help everybody out as well.
What was cool is I looked them up, what they were doing, and they explained it online that, for one, they adapted to their website really quick. You can go online, you pre-order your crowler that you want, and it's great. You can get 4-pack 16-ounce crowlers or 32-ounce crowlers, whatever you want to get. Pick your beers, and then they will text you when it's ready. Usually it's within the hour, right? So that and then they knock off 20% of the cost, but then ask if they can please add a 20% tip. So you give a 20% tip, but the total you pay is what just the beer would have cost, if that makes sense, because they did the 20. So that means they're people who are risking themselves up front to be handing out the beer. But you get there, you get there, there's the line at their window, kind of like, everybody's spaced out 6 foot, and every now and then they'll just go, hey, who called in? And you're like, I did, name, and then they're just like, come here, you just grab your beer and you're done because you've already paid for it. You just pick it up and go. And they had part of their glycol lines, because Ron, glycol, that's part of the process too that you can use to like hand sanitizer and cleaner and stuff. Yeah. They had purchased the stuff in to convert part of their system to make hand sanitizer. So I thought it was a come buy a beer, get a free hand sanitizer. Nope. They were cranking out hand sanitizer, and anybody in town, whether you bought a beer or not, whatever, you could walk up, one person, one family at a time, and take one out. It was really cool. That's Sun Creek Brewery. Again, if you're traveling down when things get all peachy keen and you can travel again, there are some cool places in Central Florida you should check out for your beers.
100%.
And that's the beer news for right now.
That's what I got to get. I got to get Ron one of them. I got to get that sound effect programmed into the board.
So we need one for beer news and La Liga news
and our La Liga roundup. Yeah.
Yeah, we need some sort of like little tune or jam or
so
whatever.
Do we need an intro
remember
when we become Bundesliga Brewtiful Game for a few weeks?
I'm A-okay with that, man.
I vote for the sound effect. Do you remember?
If you say Vuvuzela.
No,
yes, please.
No.
Damn it.
I'd jump out a window. Do you remember the old news programs when the news person would come on the radio and you'd hear the news ticker behind them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Coming in live.
That's the sound I want.
It wasn't
from the Derby down.
No,
but
it was the like mechanical version of that almost.
Right. It was like
that
kind of thing.
Yeah. Live from the front. The boys the front drinking their Senka coffee as it's about
Pabst Blue Ribbon has come through for our boys.
That's not how it goes.
And the boys at the front coming in now with the Pabst Blue Ribbon being delivered to the boys as they give old Hitler what for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That was my Guinness glass, by the way.
That's probably the best thing you've ever done on this podcast.
Oh, that's what it should be.
Coming live to you now, the roving reporter brings you the beer news, Ron Keller.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I have to record something.
I love
with
that.
Do
That's
old-timey radio style.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
I don't know why I do it. I always talk like Terrence and Phillips from South Park, but that's always what it sounds like.
I tend to go right for that, transatlantic thing. Yeah, the Craft Brew Alliance. See? Yeah, they posted their $45.8 million in beer.
What do you think they're fixing to do over there? Well, I'm supposing they're going to be doing this. Yeah.
I immediately go to that.
Look, if we keep staying in quarantine too much longer, that might be a whole pod
Yeah, right.
when it's all said and done. Hey guys,
good pods.
Yeah, good job though. For no games, we got a lot of stuff out of this episode.
It's like a 2-hour podcast.
Is it really?
Yeah, we're an hour 50,
kidding.
yo.
Damn.
Sorry, y'all.
Hey, you know what? We don't get to hang out that much.
Hey, and we haven't gotten feisty with each other in a while.
No,
so.
I was gonna say
That was some good US.
that was. It's always when the women's national team come up, you know.
Well,
Ferris is always wrong.
Yeah, shut up. And what's weird is we're usually all on like the same side of things. It's all coming from like a place of we love this game, but then there's just so many different subtopics within all of it that it just sparks it and just like, ooh, yeah, a little bit of fire.
I love we can get a good feisty debate in here.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's pretty much all of us, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, as always, folks, follow us on the Brewtiful Game, our website, thebrutifulgame.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Brewtiful Game. They don't allow the. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Hit us up. Ferris is always on Instagram. And then always as our Untapped.
So is Ron.
Oh, yeah. Ron, I got to make sure I put in this here beers here for our Untapped. Which is funny because we all obviously have the Untapped on our phone. It's tied to the same Brewtiful Game app. So I always like seeing like, oh, what did Ron just have? Oh, what did Ferris just have? But our beer journeys are there, and I think you'll be introduced to some really good stuff. So follow along. I know I've also found some good stuff from the folks that have become friends with us on there. If you however you listen to us, if there's ability like Apple Podcasts or whatever to leave a rating or review, we super appreciate it. Let us know. We got some new magnets in, so if you do leave a review, take a screen grab. You can either just DM to us on one of our social platforms, or you can email us at thebrutifulgame@gmail.com. Show us you left the review, because sometimes they take a while to show up. That's why we ask for that. And then we'll get a magnet out in the mail to you. See? We'll get
That's right. We'll get a magnet. Brand new. Dr. McGillicuddy's Magnetosaurus sizes. Set sound on your phone card won't go off for days.
I don't know what I just said. I was trying to say old-timey words. It didn't work.
That is my favorite thing you do on this pod now.
That beer will cure your gout. It'll vacuum your floors. It'll wash your windows.
A cure for baldness.
Dr. McGillicuddy's
You
IPA.
can put it in your car engine. It's gasoline.
Okay, so the next thing we're doing is making fake commercials. That's what we're going to do to drop it.
Oh, we totally should do that. That'd be so fun.
I think that's about everything for the pod. The only thing I'll bring up is I just was trying to do something to score a little extra cash in between all this crazy time. So I don't know if you guys seen the new keyboard factory that opened up down the street here, but they went ahead and let me go because I wasn't putting in enough shifts. I'm so glad.
Where are the crickets when you need them from Ron?
Oh, I can hear the cricket. Wait, where's it at?
They're not as prominent as they were earlier in the pod.
That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. I'm not good at this sound pad yet. There it is.
Yes, that's the keyboard factory. That's ever been a thing.
The best is delivering that while staring at your face on the FaceTime, and it's framed so perfectly as the life just drains out of your eyes.
Slowly, too. Slowly, so it's more painful.
Oh my God, that makes me happy.
Well, that's all for our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Be sure to tune in for the next Brewtiful Game.
All right, gents.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Love the beer, cherish the game, the Brewtiful Game.
Cheers.
Thanks, Alonzo. Take care, everybody.